Welcome to The Tea with Martha, where we spill the tea on the untold truths and real struggles of entrepreneurship. I'm Martha Pachow, a fellow business owner who's learned the ins and outs of business the hard way. Get ready for unfiltered discussions on the highs, lows, and messy realities of entrepreneurship. It's time to spill the tea and vent it out with us.
Well, welcome back to The Tea with Martha. On today's episode, I am so beyond excited to introduce a good friend of mine, Angela Ball. And Angela Ball is the founder of Hearts for Moms and just a phenomenal woman of God and mother, wife. We met through the LOL Brooke Thomas's mastermind. And it was such a divine appointment that in hindsight, I know that we were meant to meet and sit at the table. And here we are. We've had extensive conversations and I just had to have her on. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Angela. I can't wait to spill the tea with you.
Me too. Thank you so much, Martha. It has been such a blessing since day one that the Lord brought us together. It was truly a divine connection. And I am so thankful that, so quickly our journey it started, from the get-go, and now where he has us now today doing incredible things for the kingdom. It truly is just every time it leaves me amazed and in awe of our God.
100%. It's the things that we couldn't do ourselves if we tried, right?
Agreed.
Like that's when you know it's divine. Well, Angela,
exactly.
tell me, because it's like you and I are just hanging out having some tea here, but tell our audience a little bit of why you started Hearts for Mom and what Hearts for Moms is.
Yes. So let's start by saying, Martha, that this was not on my bucket list. And I always like to say that because that's part of the tea that we get to spill, that there are so many things that life brings that it's so unexpected. But yet when we're able to be in obedience and full surrender, it's beautiful to see what the Lord has for us. And, I often really just kind of argue with the Lord, like, why me? Why do you choose me? Because clearly there are like way more qualified people than myself to start a nonprofit organization. And like, how do you even do that? I had no idea. And so it's been an amazing, amazing journey because it really has made me rely on the Lord every step of the way. And everything I do, I will say over and over again, I give all the glory to God, Martha, because it has been just that good. And this girl is just not that good.
Yeah. Well, I know where you're coming from, but you are, but I get it. Yes.
But it's been life-changing. And that has been, I think, one of the biggest surprises and blessings that I've had because it was so unexpected. And it started when I first gave my life to Christ. And it was about 39 years old that I finally said yes to having a very close relationship with him, which I was lacking. I was brought up as a Catholic. And, again, I was just to be in the word was just not there and nor encouraged. And once I was able to say yes and give my life to Christ, everything just changed. My life just turned upside down and my priorities became completely different to what they were. And that's when I started seeking him and asking him, what was my call? And, what was my calling? What was my purpose? And without me really even realizing, he started bringing single moms into my life. And then I started diving into other nonprofit organizations where I was able to help. But as I started doing that, also, I realized that there was healing within myself that needed to take place. Because before you can serve someone, you really need to start having that process of healing so that you can really pour into the lives of those that the Lord has brought into you, right?
So good. Yeah.
It's important. You cannot do it out of an empty cup. So it started to really bringing reminders of my own journey when I was 19 years old. And I actually went through an abortion. I agreed with my now husband to have an abortion because of our own circumstances. And soon after I started serving the moms, I realized that, wow, they have been so much braver than I ever was at age 19, despite their circumstances,
Mm.
which again, they lack the financial resources, they lack the family support, or even the partner. And they still say yes. So that was a huge pivotal moment for me. And I realized at that time that for that reason, I wanted to become their voice and also be part of their support system so that they can become the best mom that they can be. Because when we have a whole mom, a mom that is really going to be able to thrive, that is going to, pass down to their own children. And that's going to be generational. There's going to be a generational impact that is going to happen. And
Yes.
that's why I really believe that parenting is so important and that it needs to be so healthy. And never mind that it needs to be, with God in the center of it all, because it really will change everything in your life as well as the lives of the children. So that was the beginning of me realizing that this is what I wanted to do, that
Mm.
this was my calling. And the why. It was my why.
Mhm.
And as we continue down that journey, I also realized that I needed to heal from my miscarriages. So after we gave birth to our son, Ashton, he's now 20 years old, just an awesome
Aw.
young man. Uh, we also tried to have more children, and then it didn't work. I had two miscarriages after he was 3 years of age. And then I had this guilt
Mm.
and shame that continued to carry, just because I'm like, Lord, are you punishing me? What is going on?
Mm.
Why can I not have any more children? This is what we desire. This is what my son desires. And it was clear as day, as I was, being in this mentality, being, just woe me kind of mentality. And the Lord really dropped it in my spirit and said, but I given you a son. And at that point, it changed everything, because I was going through a bit of depression. That was the first time that I actually really experienced depression, Martha.
Mm.
And I'm like, wow, Lord, you're right. You are right. I'm blessed. I'm blessed to have our son. So, I say all this because sometimes we can just take for granted what we do
Yes.
have,
Mm.
and we continue to just stay in that place of what we don't have. So that, for me, that moment was truly special, and it just changed everything as well.
Mhm.
And again, one of the reasons why I continue to do what I need to do, and why I like to share this platform, because I believe that many women have to come to a place of healing, Martha.
Mhm.
And, I have to share a brief story of the one book. I'm an avid reader. I love reading, and anything that is life giving, I want to be able to just go ahead and sit down and devour it.
I know.
So,
I'm seeing your books in the back. I'm like, oh, there's the John Maxwell books. Oh, that one. I love it.
totally. And the funny thing about that is that I actually didn't like reading before, until
Mm.
I started reading the Bible, believe it or
Mm.
not. So it was pretty incredible that all of a sudden I'm getting all these different books, and the Lord really speaks to me through them.
Mhm.
And Heaven is for Real was one of them. It was one of my first books that I really just started reading and loving, because there's that story of young Colton. I don't know if you've heard, but they also have a movie that they did about his testimony, where
Mm.
he became so sick, his parents, pastors, they ended up taking him to the hospital, and there's a period of time that they thought he was, dead. Well, they didn't think he was, dead, and he had gone to heaven. And then when he came back and he's nice, healthy, healed, he's talking to his mother, and he was able to say to his mom that he had met this little girl that had brown hair and had no name, and it was
Mm.
his sister. And so his mom corrected him and say, no, you have only one sister, not two. And he said, no, mom, this sister had no name.
Wow.
And at that point, it really impacted me, because I realized that we had our son that we aborted. And I, again, not knowing that it was a boy or a girl, but I really entered into prayer and asked the Lord, what is it, Lord? Show me, tell me, because I want to be able to give names to our children. So
Mm,
our first child is Jonathan, then
mm,
Ashton is our earthly son, and then Ashley is our little girl. So it's nice to have a little girl in the family, and
mhm,
then David is our baby.
mm.
And so
I
I
love
often
it.
say, we have, yes, I have one son, but really in reality, I have four children. And it's been
Mm.
such a beautiful blessing to realize that.
Oh, yeah. Every time we talk, and this is not the first time I hear the story, but it's still so moving. And, I just commend you. I want to mirror this amazing. Um, I mean, it takes so much courage, right? I mean, now I know you've
Mm,
talked on many stages and you talk about your story, but I still think that the vulnerability and sharing your story and even just and naming your babies and also letting go of the shame. I mean,
yeah,
that is so extremely powerful. And
yeah.
there's so many people that just, like you said, we need healing, right? We need healing
Amen.
to be able to serve. And so I just want to honor you for that, because I know that God is using you and you are a tool. And it's just phenomenal to see what you have been able to do with that vulnerability and just allowing God to use you, because we all have stories and we all have uh, a healing journey that may look different, but
Mhm.
nevertheless, it's needed, right? And
Yeah.
so, what a testimony! And whew, I
Well,
love this.
and I think I thank you, and I thank the Lord for the platform that He's given me on this, Martha, because very often women don't want to talk about this,
Oh,
and we don't
mm,
realize how much it really impacts us. And so it took me a while to go through that healing process. I couldn't verbalize it. I
mhm.
couldn't share with anybody.
No, I'm sure.
And so, when you know that the Lord finally has released you and there's complete healing, there's such freedom out of it. And I encourage a
Mm,
lot of our women listeners, Martha, to find a safe place, whether it's your church, your mentor, your best girlfriend, find someone to be able to talk about it, because you will be amazed on how
mhm.
just freeing this experience will be for you. And I pray that the Lord will also use many more women to really be able to, talk about it, and allow other women to just be released from it as well and be used.
Oh, so good. So good. Thank you for that.
Mm,
And reminder of also, um, just analyzing, right? It's a good time to reflect and say, oh shoot, what else do I need to heal from that maybe we unconsciously don't even address? Like you said, it's really
right,
hard. People don't want to talk about this deep,
right.
um, you know, just things that we go through. So, and take us to where that led you, and what is Hearts for Moms, because this is, when we met, I was like, oh, now I understand why you and I connected. I was like, okay, God, I get it.
Yes, so Hearts for
Now you're not
Moms.
getting rid
So
of me.
I love it. You know what? And distances are not going to separate us either. Like, I just feel so connected with you, Martha. And I just love what the Lord is doing, sister. I'm just amazed. And that
Mhm.
has been one of the biggest blessings about doing ministry, because it truly is a blessing. Is it hard work? Absolutely. But it's just beyond. I mean, to be able to be connected with amazing brothers and sisters in Christ, the people that the Lord brings to you, and it's like no other. We get to do life together, but we get to do it with a purpose.
Yes.
And that's the part we can get so into our everyday to do things and our work. But wow, when we're actually doing something for somebody else, and even this story, when I get to share with you, with amazing women like our mastermind group, um, it is incredible to see all of the different connections and how the Lord starts weaving everything
Mhm.
so that we can do more.
Yeah.
And that's part of the blessing. Yeah, we when I started, so we just celebrated 7 years ago this past Sunday on April 21st, 2017 is when we founded the nonprofit organization.
Yay,
And it's
congrats, 7
incredible.
years.
Thank you. Thank you.
My
It's been
favorite number.
again. Yeah, right. So it's been incredible. But what I love is that the Lord really started giving us that divine strategy on how things needed to be put together. What was the business plan? What was it that we were going to do? And from the very get-go, we knew that we're going to provide resources to enrich the lives of the single moms, but also their children. And along the way, as we started the ministry, it started with one program, and now 7 years later, we have 5 programs, which is incredible. And every single part of it
Mhm.
has been because we have pivoted. We have learned how to pivot so that we can be flexible and adapt to the needs, really truly evaluate what are the needs,
Mm.
what are the gaps, what can we do better? Because it's all about the quality of service and not
Mhm.
necessarily the quantity, although eventually we're going to be able to serve thousands of families. I know
Yeah.
that without a shadow of a doubt. But whatever we're going to do, we want to make sure that we're going to be doing it in excellence. So that's
Yes.
why bringing a wraparound service that will be, complete for the families, for the moms, was our number one goal. And that's why our organization is very different from a lot of different other nonprofit organizations, because we truly we subsidize the cost of housing, education, transportation, childcare. We refer the moms actually to mental health counselors that are Christians, and also have skill development classes, because we want to make sure that we give them all the information that they need so that they continue to grow and become the best mom that they can ever be. It is so important that mom, it starts at the top. It
Yes.
starts with mom, and then it will trickle down onto their children. And
100%.
so if we're able to make sure that we are doing our best in order for mom to be whole and healthy, for her to continue to be able to provide for their child, not be so stressed and overwhelmed, then she's going to pass that on to them.
Mhm.
And that's how cycles will be broken as
I was
well.
just gonna say, and that's like breaking the poverty cycle, or the just different cycles in different
Yes,
families that we see repeated over and over, and it takes only one person to break it
that's
and
right.
completely change it. So I mean, that's, when you think, when you have a mentality of looking at it from an eagle's standpoint, and not
Hmm.
from from just eyesight. What do I see in my vision right here? But looking at it from an eagle's perspective, I mean, you can see the amount of like impact that will have for
Yeah, yeah,
generations, right? Like
yeah. Hmm.
it excites me. I mean, I get just thinking of how one person, and we know this in history, we know this in the Bible, we know this. I mean, just I'm sure you have stories in your life, like just one
Hmm.
person, how it can change their family, their own life, and therefore the life of their children and all the
Yeah.
generations to come. Because yes, fathers are so important, and this is really not about diminishing that, but the reality is we live in an unfortunate time where there is a lot of pain and there is a lot of single mothers, and
Yeah.
while there that whole teaching men to step up and be providers and protectors is a whole other subject, but
Right.
really understanding, like, okay, if this is what we have and this is a valid need, not to, like I said, not to diminish. I'm definitely not a man
Hmm.
hater. I know you're not. You have a son and you
No,
have a
no.
husband, and so do I. And but just really
Agreed.
understanding, okay, what can we do? Because this is mama bears. I am such a proponent of, we as women, God gave us this fighting spirit for our children, right?
Yeah.
We want to, we will take the shirt off our backs. We will we will do whatever it takes. And
Yeah.
that's what these women are doing. They've decided whether they have had an unexpected pregnancy and or they have had unexpected events in their life that have
Right.
completely transformed their trajectory. I mean, you have stories of women who were happily married and
Right.
financially stable, and then things change, and how they all of a sudden they end up with no money in their pocket and the shirt on their back and living off of the car they were driving. I mean,
Yeah.
there's releasing that judgment to understand that there's a need, and that's where we're called to step in with no judgment.
Hmm.
And that's the hands and feet of Jesus, right? Like what is in our hand that we can do to help those. We don't even have to go far, like very close,
Right. No,
right
no.
here.
Yeah, you'll be amazed. It doesn't fit a particular mold anymore. And a mom, we often say a single mom is often one paycheck away from being homeless,
Mhm.
Martha, because the cost of living has risen
Yes.
so much. And here in our area in Palm Beach County, the cost of housing is just ridiculous. It's
Mhm.
increased over 50%. So when we had moms that they were paying about $1,500 for their rent, now they're paying over $2,200 for a very modest apartment, and they just cannot. They're the hardest working woman. My hats off. I am so thankful that I got to really to understand the life of a single mom, because they will do whatever they need to do in order to be able to provide for their children. But
Mhm.
unfortunately, the circumstances right now is that they are working their hearts out and they just cannot make enough money.
Mhm.
And any little thing, any little hiccup will send them just it will drown them.
Mhm.
So they're in constant kind of like survival mode, and they're treading water, treading water. And again, if there's a car repair, if they're not able to, meet the electric expenses, it will make them sink. And so that's why for us to be able to come alongside of single moms to help stabilize them with their basic needs, it's so key, because again, we want them to continue to do what they need to do and
Mhm.
eventually continue to grow, because often if the moms, if we're going to say, so there's a statistic that back in 2019, it said that a single mom with one child had to make at the very least, $52,000 in order for her to provide for their basic needs. If it's two children, 60,000. If it's three children, $75,000. This has increased because of the
Mhm.
cost of inflation and everything else for the last couple of years. So if they're not making at the very least that, what are we going to do as a program so that we're going to bridge that gap of income so that they can, again, surpass that and have the kind of life that, again, at least for them to have some peace and know that they're not going to have to worry about the next day not being able to provide for their child or becoming homeless. So that's why education for them to be on the path of education is key, and it's part of the commitment for them to be in the program.
Yeah,
We
tell
need to
us
make sure that
about.
the moms are growing.
I love that. That's the
Hmm.
one thing that I think is so amazing about Hearts for Moms is that piece of there's accountability, there's commitment that they have to agree to. I mean, it's far from, I hate
Yeah.
to say this word, a handout, because that's, I mean, that I feel like that has a negative connotation, but
Hmm.
in terms of how does a program look, and how do you help break those cycles for these women that really want to get out of it and that are hard workers, but they just fell on hard times?
Yeah.
What does it look like for them?
Absolutely. So we have our three C's, which is commit, connect, and change. And they need to be committed to the process. That means that they also have to be very transparent with their financial statements on a monthly basis, Martha, because we pair them up with financial coaches. Again, if they don't know how to manage their money, they will continue to just go through
Mhm.
these cycles of possibly overspending or not really looking at areas where they can trim some of that fat so that they can relocate some of those funds, possibly, eliminate their debt. All of these things are that put into place with their financial coach as goals that are set. And again and again and again, we've seen the moms eliminate. We have a couple of moms that they have eliminated over $10,000 in debt, Martha. It's
That's
crazy, but
amazing.
because they become really disciplined and it's part of the commitment. So when you are able to see those success stories, it also
Mhm.
encourages other moms to be able to
Mhm.
do the same. So that's
100%.
that's the
Yeah.
power of community that we're
Mhm.
also able to create through their program, because now start speaking life onto them. And those moms that started at not believing in themselves, and they're being able to achieve goals, whether they're financial, personal, physical, spiritual, career goals, whatever it is, as they're meeting, achieving those goals, now they're a little bit more confident,
Mhm.
a little bit more
Mhm.
empowered, and they are also, speaking life onto the other moms that are feeling like they're not sure what they're going to do. So the financial part is really important for us, and it needs to be addressed. But we also they have to be committed to the skill development classes, and it's part of whether it's parenting, finances, and health and wellness. We have this amazing curriculum that we have partnered with Single Mom University. I cannot brag enough about them. They've done a beautiful job because every single video is also very Christ centered. It points them back to God's word. And I want to be clear that the moms don't have to be Christians, they don't have to be believers, Martha. But they know that this is a Christ centered ministry, that
Mhm.
this is our language, these are our values, because we know how it radically transformed our lives. So we want it to be the same for them as well.
Mhm.
So
I
we
love that.
also, part of the commitment is that they have to be part of the mental health counseling, because
Mm.
often what we notice is after serving for so many years, I've served for 13 years already, founded the organization for 7 years, but realized that the moms, because we were not dealing with their
Mhm.
triggers and traumas,
Mhm.
with that past history, that pain,
So good.
they can't move forward. And we're
Mhm.
like, why are they going backwards? We can't afford for them to go backwards. We need to make sure that everything is addressed. So that's why that has been so key to their success, and it truly makes a huge difference in their lives.
So good.
But and also pairing them up with a Christian mentor has been wonderful, because now they have that someone else that is going to pour wisdom and is going to be able to guide them and navigate that, their life circumstances with them. But as they commit to that process, they also have to connect with the resources that we make available to them, and just to the volunteers and the support team that is placed around them, because it's not limited to the mentor or the financial coach and the program coordinator. But if we see that there needs to be a career coach, we want to connect them with them. If it's going to be the prayer team, we want to connect them to somebody that is going to be able to pray for them on a constant basis. We want to make sure that if it's going to be a mechanic, any kind of repair services, again, it's all about the resources, and that they're also connecting to those resources that are
Mhm.
given to them. So
So
whatever
good.
the need is, we are going to find that person, that leader that is going to be able to help them navigate through that season. So that's really key. And then the change is going to happen when we start telling the moms, you got to be gold minded. And goal minded means that often moms um, don't get exposed to parents teaching them, their own parents teaching them how to set goals and achieve those goals. I cannot tell you how many times we've seen this again and again. And so they don't know what to shoot for. All they're doing is just surviving.
Mhm.
They're just trying to survive. That's all they're trying to do. So when they start setting those goals, especially for education, this has been a really exciting season, because we've seen so many of the moms finally come to a place of flourishment. I mean, it takes time, and that's why it makes it so different from any other nonprofit organizations out there, because it is a time commitment. We
Mhm.
cannot change lives, and we're talking about changing lives. We cannot do that within a short period of time. That's why we don't have
Right.
necessarily a term limit. We
Mm.
say, as long as they're moving forward, as long as they want it as much more than we want it for themselves, truly,
Right. Right.
we're going to walk that journey with them.
That is so
And
important, right? They have to
it's so
want it
important, it's
because
key. Oh,
yes.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They can't
And
want it more than they
unfortunately,
do.
And sometimes they start really strong, and along the way we say we have to let go and let God.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we come to that crossroads where we're wanting it more than they do, we know that there's something that needs to change here. And so that's when we have to, in all love, we have to let them go and
Mm-hmm.
exit the program. But that's why the accountability is so important, because we're not
Yes.
doing any favors by enabling anyone, nor
Right.
do we have the time to do that. We wouldn't
Right.
serve them well if that's what we're doing. So that's why it's very important that we continue to push them to move forward. And that's why we have to lift their arms, because they often don't believe in themselves, and they have
Mm.
no idea of truly the power that they have to really change and do what they need to do to thrive. That's what
Mhm.
has been so beautiful to see.
I love that. I think it's such a key in change, facilitating change, right? Change is
Yeah.
really, really hard. And
Hmm.
specifically when, as it relates to habits and really changing mindsets and this, and that could be a generational curse. And so there's this stronghold that is often holding people back that
Yeah.
they don't even realize is there. And so I mean the work you're doing is so deep. It's not superficial. And it's not, I can't imagine, and the mental and emotional fortitude it takes to stay consistent, because it is a long-term relationship. You're talking about years. And so,
Yeah.
like I said, I mean, I was blown away by the process and that accountability piece. I think at every level, at every stage, in different departments of life, we need that accountability. That's why you and I are in a program, right? Like
Absolutely.
the accountability is such a key to success, to finding success, and in whatever area it is that we're trying to work on and build up. So I love
Agreed.
those stories, and I know you have many stories, success stories, which I think that just is a testament of how God uses people like you to really change lives.
Mm.
And I love that whole piece too. There's the practical aspect where, hey, we want to support you if you want a career change or up level your skills. If you need support with paying certain bills, as long as you're in the program
Right.
and showing up and doing what you committed to do. So there's that very boots on the ground. And there's also that emotional and spiritual healing that needs to happen, that is often the root of a lot of the things we continue to repeat. And so I think this just at every angle on how, that's why I was so moved by the work you do, because being myself, I was not a single mom for a long time, and I'm grateful for that. But I was a single mom for a while, and I think that's what called me, is understanding, one, it also made me realize how, I've always known there's that generational blessing, right? Just like we do
Mm-hmm.
also have generational chains that we need to break. And there's also
Mm-hmm.
some of us are very fortunate to have generational blessing. And I can look back at the times where I was on food stamps while I was trying to work and trying to survive with my two little kids, and there is no shame in that, knowing that I had the ability and I had a degree to kind of crawl my way out of it for that season, that because it can happen to
It
anyone
can. Yeah.
anywhere. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. There is no respecter of people when it comes down to hard times, and things can change in a blink of an eye. So
Yeah.
I just think back of, I mean, I know I was fortunate, and I went through a lot of uh, things, right? I mean, I was scared. I didn't feel safe. And therefore, if I didn't feel safe, I didn't feel my children were safe, and a lot of the things
Mm-hmm.
that happened. But I had, I'm Italian American, Italian Mexican. And so I think I just have it in my blood. I was like, I am not
Yeah.
giving up, and I'm going to figure this out. And I remember when I would have to go apply, the first time I had to go apply for food stamps, I was wearing a hat, like anybody knew me and nobody really cared, right? Everybody was also trying to survive
Yeah.
their own life. But for someone who I was just like, I don't understand how am I here? How did
Right.
this all
Right.
change so fast? But it was like, okay, that's fine, whatever. This is what I need. This is what needs to happen so I can feed my children because I wasn't making enough.
Right.
It's either like, okay, I pay my rent and my car, or I feed my kids. There was not there's not a lot of options sometimes, right? And
Yeah.
there was just so many things, and I remember like asking God, like, why me? Why, what did I do to deserve this? I've been
Mhm.
obedient, so I thought, I mean, just all the things that sometimes we carry, and it's still to this day I will never understand, but I'm grateful for it because it made me basically who I am. I mean, I was able to
Yeah.
figure it out and get support. And I remember I didn't have money for an attorney, and so I felt unsafe. And I had gone twice to the court to ask for an order of protection, and they had denied me. And so in my desperation, I went to an organization here in Phoenix called Fresh Start, and they didn't have specifically what I needed, but they pointed me to another organization. And
Mhm.
so it was through the city of Phoenix, Family Services. And I get there and I tell them my story and what I'm experiencing. And for the first time, somebody had validated me and told me, honey, what you have gone through is abuse. It's not, maybe you don't have a black eye or a bruise, but it is abuse. And I remember I spent the entire day there. They wouldn't let me go because they basically wrapped their arms around me. And because being an organization and it was through the
Mhm.
city, they had special rooms where they had a phone. Literally, it was like it was a corded phone with a screen directly
Yeah.
to a judge. And so because of them, and I had been talking to the counselor there, they kind of validated the whole situation, and I was able to get an order of protection then, but not until then.
Wow.
And they also gave me 1 year of free counseling. And so I remember thinking, oh, okay, I am not crazy. I'm not, just getting that validation of when we have this intuition that's telling us like something is not okay, something is not right, despite the fact that I was married to a Christian man. Um, it was not okay. There are just things that it's okay to label something for what it is. And if that's abuse, then that's abuse, and that's what we need to call it. And it's okay to get the help and professional help. It doesn't make us any less, right?
That's right.
And I think
Yeah.
there's such power in that. And so I remember going to my appointments. I don't remember if they were weekly or biweekly, but I wouldn't miss
Okay.
them, and it was so freeing, and real just it was, I think, such a pivotal time for me that helped me, one, be okay and work through my emotions. It helped me dust myself off and get up and do what I had to do. Like I know it was a time that I drew a line in the sand, knowing that
Yeah.
that support, that help that they gave me.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know where I would be, maybe would have gone
Wow.
later, maybe, I don't know, but I'm so grateful
Yeah.
for that. And I think that's why it's so amazing of what you're doing. And so that organization was called A New Leaf, where I was getting my counseling from. And
Okay.
fast forward a few years ago, my friend invites me to this fundraising event. And she said, oh, I'm on the board of A New Leaf. And I'm like, oh, yeah, sure. I'm like, oh, yeah, I totally know A New Leaf. So, of course, I go and I'm
Wow.
like, I am there. I would love to give back. And she said, okay, you have to meet the president. I'm like, okay. So I meet Mike. And of course, we loved on each other. I mean, I was just like, I will forever be grateful. And I
Yeah.
love the ability that now, years later, I can give back. I ended up serving on the board a few years just because, of course, they swooped me up and just said like, hey, you're the ideal person that we want to, you had a service and now you're serving, and being able to give back. But it just goes to say how one organization, one person, one service can be life saving, life
Yeah.
changing, and
Yeah.
hard times is no respecter of people.
No, not at all. And this reminds me, Martha, of the story of one of our moms that literally she was doing well with her work. Everything was fine. She was working for a pharmaceutical company, and suddenly the company was actually bought out by another company. So there were over 80 employees that were let go, and she was one of them. And again, remember I said single moms are often one paycheck
Mm.
away from being homeless. Well, this was the story, this was the case for this mom that she has three little girls between 4 years old and 8 months old.
Mm.
And what was really incredible as we're going through the interview process, the Lord literally told me that I needed to go and see her. And it was heartbreaking because I knew that she was only 5 days away from being evicted.
Mm.
And as I'm sitting in her living room, Martha, I'm seeing the one little girl. She's not feeling well. She's just laying on the couch, just having her little time. The other two little munchkins are just jumping all over the place. They're eating their little snacks. They're watching their TV. They're playing with their toys. And it was just a flash moment of, oh my gosh, Lord, if we don't do something, if
Mm.
we don't intervene, if we are not here at this moment, they will be living in their car because that was the only other option. That's what they will be calling home in 5 days.
Mm.
And it's heartbreaking that if there's not going to be a community, like there was a community there for you through this nonprofit organization. But if you don't have a community like that, the trajectory of your story will be so different, and that would
Mhm.
have been for this family and these little girls as well, because they get so affected when children become homeless. It is a trauma
Mm.
for them. It becomes traumatic, and it will impact their lives as well.
Mm.
So that's why it's so important that we're
Mm.
able to get to these families, keep them together, and prevent them from becoming evicted or eventually homeless. Because once they become homeless, there's not a lot that we can do because there's not enough affordable housing out there for us to be able to
Mm.
refer them to. That's the sad reality. Not even shelters. The shelters are at their full capacity.
Mhm.
So as we're going through this process, we realized that this mom, yes, she needed to be part of the program. And thankfully, because of the support of many of our donors, we have been able to allow the moms to remain in their home, prevent
Mm.
eviction, because we have to get them caught up. But
Mhm.
it's so important. And now that was the beginning of it. But then what are we going to do? So the next steps
Right.
were
Right.
childcare, because what happened was that she needed childcare for her one little girl. The other two were okay, but there was no childcare assistance from the
Mm.
government for her 8 month old. And therefore, the reason why she couldn't even go to
Go to
work,
work.
she actually tried going to work, finding another job at a restaurant, but then realized that when she was paying her babysitter, she only had $60 left out of the whole paycheck.
Mhm.
And she's like, wait a minute, what am I doing? I don't even have enough money to pay for my rent. So no wonder she kept going deeper and deeper into this
Mhm.
hole and served with an eviction notice. So she came into the program. We are paying for the childcare, weekly childcare, because it's on average $300 a week.
Mhm. Mhm. I know.
You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. I know. And it's like the irony of this, I think, oh my goodness. And I always, being in the childcare business, I think it's such I mean, this is a subject for, this is a subject for another episode, but,
Yeah,
looking at and think, wow, I am so amazed, how people have the ability, because for us, it costs so much, right? Like the opposite side.
right,
And not that I need to justify anything, but it's just hard times all over, people
right,
operating the businesses. And I know from my network of childcare owners, because inflation has gone up for everybody, which means
right.
it eats up, all the whatever profit there was. I mean, which is
Mhm,
margins are so small. And so
mhm.
I struggle often with how do we because my heartstrings are so pulled all the time, right? How do we help
Right.
support, but also I have to pay my staff living wages and benefits, and how
Of
do we make
course.
it affordable for parents? Because I can't imagine having to pay 2 or 3 kids, but that's just a reality. And that's where we know that we have to trust a God that provides for
Right.
for everything, because
Agreed.
it requires so much, and linking arms and with people that you know are are rooting for you, and you're rooting, it's like this trickle effect of support. And I know it sounds
Mhm.
like a butterfly and rainbow world, but really, that's why not? Why not? And
Right.
why not us? Right. I which is why you and I kind of gravitated to each other, would and I want to, kind of that kind of ushers into the conversation of when we met and we've been talking and getting on calls. I'm like, okay, I
Mhm.
have to do something, and I can't not just not do anything. And we're going to be launching a fundraising event here in Scottsdale, Arizona, the week after Mother's Day. So our goal is to raise $25,000 to help support Hearts for Moms and the work that Angela Ball is doing. And everything goes directly to the organization. And I can't think of a better gift, that as a mom, to gift to another mom, because, whether you've been there or have not been there, regardless, whether you're a
Yeah.
mom or not a mom, it doesn't really matter. We're women and linking arms and supporting an organization. Like, I can't even think of all the layers of what you're doing and what it requires, that the there is a sense of urgency, right?
There
People
is.
need help
There is.
today, not a year
Yes.
from now. And you are
No.
already there. You've built this. The foundation has been
Yes.
laid. And I think that we are called as laborers
Yeah.
help support the work you've already done. I am all about acceleration. I already,
I
people always
love
say,
it.
like, man, you're always moving fast. I'm like, because I have a sense of urgency. There is no such a thing as wait till tomorrow. No, we're going to get it done, and we're going to get it done today, and we're going to
Amen.
do it with excellence and for the right reasons, because that's what we're called to do. And when we serve a big
Amen.
God, why not? I always say, like, why not?
Ah,
Why not?
I love
Why
it.
not me? And why not now? Why wait?
Agreed.
And so really just I have this just passion for the work you're doing and admiration. And I
Thank
know God
you.
will bless
Praise
and
God.
bring amazing women that we're gonna have a good tea and
Yes.
nice, just a nice morning with uh, a bunch of women that love to support each other. I mean, that's really what it's all about. And we just get to have fun
Eh,
together.
Can I tell you, Martha? So I just want to say, if I could just take a moment to honor you and say thank you, sister,
Mm,
because your heart is pure gold. And what I love is that there's no limitations to love. And the urgency it's huge because we have over 350 families on the wait list, Martha.
mm,
It is heartbreaking that we see, and this is not just in Palm Beach County area. I mean, the moms are finding us nationwide. So this is a national thing. And what I love is that you are not limiting yourself to creating impact in your area. You're literally reaching out to moms, period, to children that are in need. And
mhm,
so I thank you for that. I thank you for your commitment to create real impact everywhere, everywhere, Martha. And I'm so excited that
mm,
this is such an honor, sister. I mean, like, this is when we get to brag about our God.
mhm,
To make this happen, like, these are not stories that you often hear for nonprofit organizations, because a lot of the nonprofits tend to stay local, right? With a local base. But the Lord has been blowing it up in such an amazing way ever since the Lord brought Brooke Thomas into my life. Ever since Brooke ended up being part of Hearts for Moms. And this incredible group of women that are
mhm,
truly world changers.
mhm,
This is what is so exciting, because we know, after I've been reading Rachel Wortman's book on the expansion mandate, Holy cow, everybody needs to read that book. Yay, there you have it.
I'm reading it with my small group. I have a business, a women small group every other Friday. And I was like, so I'm going to gift you guys this and we're going to do this. We're going to do this because you can't, I've read it. Well, I read it once and then I'm reading it again with my group.
Yes.
So yeah, it's like, if you're looking for a good book, The Expansion Mandate, The 4 Battles to Win the Journey to Your Promised Land. You're welcome.
Exactly. And Rachel, wow, is she, I mean, her faith and so prophetic, that is such a blessing that, again, we're able to be amongst this group of women. And I am forever blessed because truly I know that this is the expansion mandate is what the Lord is giving us right now, Martha, and we cannot do it alone. It's going to take many, many hearts to be able to come alongside and really love on the widows and the fatherless everywhere.
Yes. And I think, to that point, I mean, I always get excited. I love business. I'm just like, once you get a flavor and you're just like, okay, well, if I do this, then I can do that. It's that gaining that confidence that comes, it's like a muscle. You build your muscle with, the repetition and breaking it down too. You break down and then you build it back up. And so building a business, and I think it's so far beyond, my biggest why was my children. And so when I started my childcare business and I was a teacher, that's what I had in my hand, and I had a need. And so I took what I knew, and then I figured like, oh, I'm a little bit good at this. Oh, I'm getting even better. Oh, wait, I can make some money. Oh, wait, I can make more money, right? And so I started building my skill set to continue to grow. And then I thought, okay, my why is I don't ever want my kids to feel like they don't have a home. And so then as I got out of a startup phase and married my husband, and we bought our home, and just once you get the foundation for that and you continue to build and scale, yes, we're doing it for our family and for the legacy that we leave them, but I also want to build a kingdom legacy, right? And what am I going to leave them, and what legacy are we going to leave, and it's so much more than me and feeding me, and what am I going to get, and where am I going to do, and what am I going to buy? Like at some point, like I've bought the purses, I've bought the shoes, like there is no shame in that. I like my purses, I won't lie. It's so much more, right? And now understanding like I am a kingdom builder, and my business is far beyond me and serving me. It's all about serving people, and how can I give back, and how can I use this tool to even scale that piece, right? If I could do it in this area, why not do it in this area?
Correct.
Because now there's this, my kids are going to be fine, thankfully. My first investment past our home was like, okay, I want my kids to have a place of their own one day for college, right? And so I invested in that. And then, so you learn and you gain the skills, but now you take all those tools and you can package it up, accelerate it. And we're building this thing, Miss Angela, and we're going to bless people, because I think there really is no other way. And God blesses that, when he blesses that, I mean, he says it, we can just have faith and we can plant a small seed, because whatever we do is so small, really. In the grand scheme of it, we are such a small grain of sand in comparison of what God can do. But when we partner with God, how much more and how much greater can our impact be? Because it's really him and not us. And so,
totally. I say that all the time.
It's just a beautiful thing. So
it's so rewarding. When you're changing lives, like there's nothing like it.
100%. I mean, it is definitely, that's why the expansion mandate exists, right? Because when we live in scarcity and where we don't have enough for ourselves, and how can we give others? And so we are called for more. We are called to do more. We are called to give more. And it is such a, if nothing else, it's an obligation. It's a responsibility. and
Mhm.
and the rest is history.
Amen.
God will take care of everything else.
Amen. Amen. Oh, I can't wait to see so many of your women and you in Scottsdale, Arizona. This is
Yes,
going to be incredible,
it's going to be
sister.
so fun.
Oh,
So stay tuned. We're dropping all the info soon, but
yes,
it's coming. It's going to
yes.
be May 17th. It's a Friday morning at 9 a.m. So you can drop off kids or answer your emails and head on over. And we'll have a beautiful morning where we're just going to enjoy each other's company but also for a good cause. So I hope to see all my friends there and new ones. This is open to everyone and anyone who would like to link arms with us and support Angela's organization, Hearts for Moms. Angela, where can our listeners find you?
Yes, so they can visit our website, heartsformoms.org, both S's, and also through Instagram and Facebook at Hearts for Moms. And
Perfect.
we're posting often in there about the wins, about the challenges, about what the Lord is doing. And it truly is so much fun to be able to partner with so many and be able to celebrate it all.
Well, I'm so excited. We'll link all the information to this episode, and please stay tuned for more because this is only the beginning. And really, truly, giving back is such it's such a privilege. Really, that's what it boils
Amen.
down to. So
Yeah,
I'm excited to do that. I'm excited to see you and hang out and introduce you to amazing women in my life that I know are going to fall
love
in
it.
love with you as well. Just like
I love
I
it.
fell in love with you, but it's going to
Aw.
be a great time. And just knowing, I always say when you don't know where to do and how to start, you just have to take one little step, right? One
Totally.
action step. And
Yeah.
if this is tugging at your heart, and if you're wondering, I don't know, or I don't have like such a deep story, or maybe opposite, I'm such a hot mess and I have a lot of stories. It's okay, right? We come as we are.
Yeah.
We're judges of no one, and
Yeah.
taking one step, giving one, buying one ticket, buying 2 tickets, giving more,
Mhm.
donating an item to be, raffled. And everybody has something that they can give, and there is no measure of what that is. We are definitely
Absolutely.
not judges of that. But if something is tugging at your heart, please reach out to me. And if you would like to support the efforts, really, I mean, you're not supporting me, you're supporting Hearts for Moms, but I would love to hear from you, message me, and more to come on that. So with that, thank you so much for being with us today, Angela. It's been great having
Thank
you. And on to the next one. Pinky
Ooh!
ladies.
I love it.
Thank you for joining me on another episode. If you enjoyed today's tea, make sure to follow, rate, and leave a review. Stay connected with us on social media at The Tea with Martha for updates and behind-the-scenes moments. Remember, every woman's story is a sip of inspiration, and together we're brewing success. This is Martha signing off. Cheers!